Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 6 replays in 6 different tanks. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below as it really does help out the channel. And yes, we've got 6 replays in the 6 different variants of the Tiger 1 at tier 7. Now the whole point of these variants series videos is that you get to see all the different tanks that look or are basically the same at a certain tier, like all the Centurions, like all the Bulldogs, like all these Tiger 1s that look similar, right? But they're all different in their own little ways. So what we do is we go through the statistics of the tanks so that you can look at them, see that some of them have slightly different DPM, slightly different accuracy, slightly different horsepower, all that sort of stuff, and you can see what is the difference between all these tanks that you might see in game. So we're starting off with the Tech Tree Tiger 1, the old but gold tank. The Tiger 1 has an AP rounder standard with 203mm of penetration and 280 damage with 1000 meters a second shell velocity. It also has APCR on its premium for 237 penetration with 280 damage and 1250 meters a second shell velocity. The HE rounds on this tank have 44mm of penetration for 370 damage, with 1000 meters a second shell velocity, same as the AP rounds. You got a 40km/h top speed on this tank with a 12km/h reverse speed with 870 horsepower, which is 15.25 horsepower per ton ratio, which means that you do hit that 40 kph top speed in this Tiger 1. It's actually not too bad in terms of getting up to its top speed. You've got 380 meters of view range, which is good enough for a tier 7 heavy. You can actually spot quite well with this vehicle in that regard. You've got 7.8 second reload with 2.1, nearly 2.2k DPM, which is solid for the Tiger. It was always about its DPM realistically, and having that 280 alpha with 2.1, nearly 2.2k DPM is definitely pretty damn nice. You got 2.5 second aim time, which can feel like an age at times, so you really want to try your best to make it so that this gun is as good as possible, so you're not having to feel that. 0.34 accuracy at base, which is pretty great, just like the 88 always has been. It's always been good at range. 0.68 accuracy during rotation with the build that I have, and 1.55 accuracy during movement with the build that I have, which means that the gun doesn't bloom out all that much realistically, which is pretty good. And then you've got 7 degrees of gun depression on the Tiger 1. Now, 203 penetration on the standard rounds of the Tiger 1 is solid. You have some of the highest penetration for tier 7 heavy tanks, which is glorious. The 237 APCR pen means you will be able to deal with everything that you will see. And the shell velocity as well, being 1000 meters a second and 1250 meters a second, is damn solid for a Tiger 1. It means that at range, you don't have to give the lead quite as much, especially with the premium rounds. You do with 1000 meters a second on the standard rounds, because that's fairly average, is what I'd say. When you get 1000 meters a second, that's where it's starting to feel average, right? And it just means that you can hit targets fairly reliable with this fantastic 88mm gun. The one thing you just want to do is try and make sure that this gun is going to be able to hit the targets, which is why I will build it out to make sure that this gun is as good as possible, because the king of the Tigers is their DPM usually, and is the ability to just keep slapping out rounds non-stop. And so if you're not hitting those rounds, well, you're failing as your Tiger role, right? So you want to make sure it's going to be able to hit. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Track Mechanic, Rapid Aim. And then in terms of equipment, the Advanced Loader, the GLD, and Optics. I run all 3 gun perks to make sure this gun is as good as possible. Like I say, Rapid Aim because the turret traverse is slow on the Tiger 1, and so I want to make sure that the turret is actually going to turn at about 29 degrees a second, which is what I've got with the Rapid Aim build, which is pretty decent, but it's still fairly slow. Advanced Loader to make the DPM 10% better, the GLD to make the aim time better, because I can get the aim time down to 2.03 with the GLD, and the Optics to be able to spot for myself, where I can get my view range up to 486 meters of view range, which is pretty nice for the Tiger. And again, it helps you spot at decent distances, especially when you get some of the longer range maps. It means you're not completely blind and you don't get outspotted all that easily. You can change it out for as much as... There's plenty of ways to kit out a Tiger 1. That crew is probably going to be more likely what you're going to see across most of these Tiger 1 variants, but there's going to be some slight differences depending on the slight differences in the Tiger tanks. But yeah, the Tiger 1 is pretty glorious. Obviously, it got that 280 alpha buff fairly recently, and the 280 alpha buff has been glorious because it just feels like you pack a bit more of a punch. You've still got the pretty damn good DPM, And the Tiger 1 is just always been a favourite of mine. I've always enjoyed playing the Tiger 1, and it's always been a fun time to play. And as you saw with that replay in the Tiger 1 on Kasserine, we did finish the game with the epic victory, 6 kills, 3.8k damage, 436 assistance, the top gun, the high caliber, the ace tanker with 1970 base XP. A pretty damn nice game for the Tiger 1, which it's just a pretty solid tier 7 heavy tank. It's not really got any armour. It's got a bit more armour on the turret front since they buffed it, because it's got 180mm of turret front now. But on the whole, you don't really want to be relying on the armour of the Tiger 1, as, yeah, you're probably going to get absolutely rinsed, which is, you know, not good for you, realistically, in your Tiger 1. You want to play it as that second-line support tank, use the great gun to your ability, and just use the fantastic DPM that the tank can get up to as well, because then you can just absolutely shred people and enjoy your time, because the tank does get nearly 3k DPM with the full build, which is just absolutely beautiful on the Tiger 1. But now we've got the Tiger P, which is the second tech tree variant of the Tiger. And obviously it's the competing design from Porsche to go that was fighting to become the Tiger, right? And it's got 200mm of armour on the front because it's got bolted plates on, but it does have cheeks on the side that are fairly easy to pen, and the lower plate is extremely weak. And you have a giant cupola on top of the turret, which also can be a bit frustrating at times, as people can quite easily shoot it. Back in the day, it used to be weaker as well, because Derp guns like KV2s could actually pen it, which was sad times, realistically, for the Tiger P. But that's no longer really the case, because it's actually now 125mm of thickness. But what's the statistics of the Tiger P? Well, it's got very similar gun stats to the Tiger 1, with the 203 penetration on AP, 237 APCR, and the HE for 44. Same velocity with 1,000 meters a second, 1,250 meters a second shell velocity, and 1,000 meters a second velocity. 35 km/h top speed. This is where it starts to vary a little bit, because it is the heavier tank. It starts to struggle with its mobility compared to the standard Tiger 1. So you got a 35 km/h top speed with the 14 km/h reverse speed, which is okay. Again, that's a fairly average top speed for a heavy tank. You've got a 670 horsepower engine, though, which is a 10.9 horsepower per ton ratio, which makes this tank feel fairly sluggish. You got 380 meters of view range, which is pretty good. Again, for a heavy tank at tier 7, it means you can spot for yourself pretty decently, and you can get your view range in this tank up to that 486 meters of view range. You've got 8.8 second reload, which is 1910 DPM, which is a lot lower than the standard Tiger. Your DPM does suffer in that regards to that vehicle and all the other Tigers, and realistically as well. You've got a 2.9 second aim time as well, which means this gun feels like it aims in for quite a while. It's not the nicest in the universe at times. It's one of those guns that just likes to derp the floor, which is a bit frustrating. You've got 0.3 base accuracy though, which isn't too bad. 0.83 accuracy during rotation with the build that I've got, and 1.78 accuracy during movement with the build that I've got, which again is not that great. It means the gun does bloom out a fair bit, especially when you're turning and you're fully on the move, which is why the 2.9 second aim time doesn't feel great, and you really want to help that out as much as you can with gun perks and crew skills. Well, crew skills and equipment and all that sort of stuff anyway. And then in terms of the gun depression, it had 6 degrees of gun depression, which is 1 degree less than most of the other Tigers. Some of them have 8, some of them have 7. Well, most of them have 7, and this one has 6, which, yeah, you can definitely feel, especially on a ridgeline compared to some of the other Tigers, and it can also be a letdown for the Tiger P. Add to the fact that, obviously, if you do go on a ridgeline, your cupola is giant and very easy to hit. It means you will suffer in that regard. And then, yeah, you don't really quite have the DPM that the tanks have. The DPM's not horrific. I mean, with the build that we have, it's 2.6k DPM, but it's a lot lower than the other Tiger variants. Obviously, with the Tiger 1 having nearly 3k DPM, the Hammer has more than that as well. You know, it's all that good stuff. So what do I run in terms of crew and equipment? Well, with the crew, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Off-Road Driving. I run Off-Road Driving on this instead of Rapid Aim, because while your turret traverse is slow on the Tiger P at 25 degrees a second with the build that we have, its ground resistances are shocking, and because it's already suffering being the heavier tank, having a lower power to weight, you know, having the slower top speed, I want to help it out as much as possible, be able to try and hit that top speed. Naturally, if you don't care about that, you could get rid of that, put Rapid Aim on, and get the turret traverse to be better, because it is slow. And in terms of equipment, I run the Advanced Loader, the GLD and the optics. GLD, again, for the same reason the Tiger 1, that the aim time does feel a little bit long at times, and I want to make sure that this gun is singing as much as possible to get that 280 alpha down range. The advanced loader to make the DPM as good as possible. Optics, like, say, to be able to get that 486 meters of view range, so that you're not blind and you can actually spot your opponents at a decent distance. And that way you can actually get some decent spotting assist as well at times, depending on the map. It means you're not completely useless on every different map. So yeah, the Tiger P does struggle a little bit at times, especially if you're in a tier 8 or 9 game. It is a bit of a sufferance, the Tiger P, sorry, and you just got to get through it a little bit. It was always the worst Tiger variant. I'm not sure about these days, to be fair, but it was always the worst one out of the lot for quite some time. But obviously, they buffed it, changed some things about it, all that good stuff, like the view range being a little bit better than it used to be, the armor generally with the cupola being a bit better, etc. You know, they've just done little minor changes to this tank over time that has made it more bearable. It's not horrendous, it's just not as good as some of the other variants that you're going to play. And this game here on the Sand River map for Tiger P, we've managed to get 1969 giggity damage so far with 4 kills. And we're just looking to help out our VK3002D, I think it is, that's there. We got a shot into the lower plate of the Jagdpanther. Seb shuts it down, and we now want to go try and get rid of this Tiger. Not, sorry, Tiger. The Panther that's in front of us if we can. Seb also gets rid of him. So, we know where the rest of their team is. There's 5 kills. We know there's 3 people out of 5 spotted currently down at F7, H8, and this guy that's just died in the Sherman 3 was at J6. But we know where the TD is as well. He was... There we go, there's the G-Row. He was spotted down there, and that's where the gun feels like pain compared to the other Tigers. You just saw me try and snap the shot, couldn't. That shot obviously hits because RNG said, yes, take the shell, hit the tank. And that's what it did. But you can just see the aim time. The aim time difference between this, that 0.2 of a second difference in the aim time is very noticeable. And because the accuracy during rotation and movement is a lot poorer than the other Tigers, you will notice the gun bloom is a lot bigger, and that again helps you to notice just how poor the 2.9 second aim time can be. But this gun can still be fairly reliable. It's just one of those that you do notice the difference between this one and the other 88s, that they just feel just that little bit more derpy, which can be a bit frustrating at times, realistically. But we're up to a top gun so far. The KV3 spot, and I'm thinking, I want my 7th kill. The Bradley Walters could be on. We get the shot into the back of his turret. 7th kill of the game. 3.1k damage. 1 tank left on the enemy team. It is the Crommy Cromwell. Mr. Cromwell, you are the only way to Cromwell. And we are coming for your life, sir. So, Tiger P is going to crawl, because that's what Tiger P does. It is not the fastest. The Tiger 1 is fairly decently mobile for what you'd expect from a heavy tank. The Tiger P, however, is just, it is sluggish and slow. When you're going on over ridgelines, stuff like that, you see 9 kilometers an hour, it's slow. But we get there just before the captured KV-1 gets to fire again. Secure our 8th kill of that game for the Tiger P. 8 kills, 3.2k damage, 1772 base XP. A really nice game there for the Tiger P. As we get the crucial contribution, the Bradley Walters Devastator Medal, the High Caliber, and the Top Gun. Really great game there for the Tiger P. That was a first class at 1772 base XP with 8 kills. Yep, okay, whatever you say. But we'll take it. We'll take the Bradley Walters. It's always nice to get 8 kills in this game. But now we're on to the Tiger 1 Hammer, the first premium variant of the Tiger that came out. Well, most people that were playing at the time got this in the earn-up that they did. I believe this was the 2nd ever earn-up. It came after the Motherland Calls-up. And most people earned the Tiger 1 Hammer back then. Obviously, it's been in earn-ups since then, and most people do own the Tiger 1 Hammer. It used to be just the Tiger 1, but worse, but there has been changes to this vehicle. So, what do we have in terms of the statistics? Well, the gun, I'm not going to go over it again, is exactly the same in terms of its AP penetration, its APCR and HE, as the Tiger P and the Tiger 1. You got a 40 kph top speed with a 12 km/h reverse speed on this Tiger 1 Hammer, which, again, is the same as the Tiger 1. And then you've got a 700 horsepower engine with a 12.15 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you are a little bit more sluggish than the standard Tiger 1 because your engine power is worse. You've got 3 horsepower per ton ratio worse. You've got 170 less horsepower. You do have 380 meters of view range, though, which is the same as the other Tigers, which, again, is nice. You'll be able to spot for yourself. 6.7 second reload is faster now than the old school Tiger one that's in the tech tree. And that is really, really great. You've got 2.5k DPM, which, when you buff it up on the Tiger 1 hammer, is going to start pushing 3.4k DPM, which is utterly beautiful. It is fantastic for the Tiger 1 hammer, and the DPM at 4.4 seconds is utterly incredible. That 4.4 second reload is just dirty for 280 alpha on this vehicle, which is an absolute asset for the vehicle. You got 2.5 second aim time, which, again, you don't really feel too badly, but you do want to try and make it better if you can, just so you can get this gun and this absolutely fantastic DPM that the Tiger 1 hammer has absolutely singing. You got the 0.33 accuracy base, which is lovely, 0.66 accuracy during rotation, and 1.88 accuracy during movement, which isn't too bad, but it does mean that the gun does bloom out a fair bit. With the 7 degrees of gun depression as well, which is fairly standard for a Tiger, which means that you can be fairly decent on a ridge line at times as well. But yeah, the accuracy during movement and rotation isn't the best, but it's also not the worst. It means the gun does bloom out after you've been moving, and then that's where you start to feel the 2.5 second aim time a little bit, which is why I set up to knock the aim time down again to that 2.03 second aim time. So yeah, talking about knocking it down, what do we run in terms of a crew and equipment on the Tiger 1 hammer? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, the Track Mechanic, Rapid Aim. And then in terms of the equipment, the Advanced Loader, the GLD, and Optics. Again, very similar to the standard Tiger one, because I want to make the turret traverse better, because the turret traverse is 24.33 degrees a second on the Tiger one hammer, which is very, very slow. It's 3 degrees a second slower than the standard Tiger. Sorry, no, it's not even that. It's more than that. It's 5 degrees slower than the Tiger 1 hammer with the build I've got. Sorry, the standard Tiger 1. We're getting confused with all the Tiger variants here. But yeah, so it's slower on the turret traverse than the standard Tiger, so I really want to make that better if I can. The Advanced Loader to make the DPM, which is phenomenal, even better. The GLD to get that gun aimed in so I can keep, again, that fantastic DPM singing, and the Optics to be able to spot for myself with 486 meters of view range, which on maps like this is a beautiful thing to have, because I will be able to spot for myself and spot the enemy targets at decent distances, and just not really get outspotted all that often, unless obviously they've got really good stealth, because naturally being a heavy tank you have absolutely no camo. So as you can see, in the Tiger 1 hammer, we've managed to get 4,047 damage so far, 760 assistance with 3 kills. You just saw me bait out the VK2801 because how good the DPM is on this tank. I fired ahead of him and went, you know what? Come on, Mr. VK. If I shoot, will you just drive out and let me kill you? And yes, he did. We take a hit from the Caro P88 as we moved up. We were also taking damage from the turret of the Ammo-racked Tiger 1, which was a little bit awkward, But now we are just thinking about what we want to be doing. You can see we need to keep the gun singing. This DPM is phenomenal. We just have to keep it firing. And it is very, very good at range. The Stug 33B got spotted, as does the Stirrer Mill. So we're just going to start putting shots into these guys as quickly as possible if they're spotted. The Caro P88 is not pressuring us yet. We get a second shot there into the Stirrer Mill, and now the Caro is coming after us. We get a shot there into the Caro's lower plate, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm probably going to take some more damage here. But I do have a way better DPM than this guy. So we're just keeping firing. Lower plate shot there. And we are just full-on trading. But if we're full-on trading, this guy is going to lose because my DPM is naturally so much better. But we're in an awkward situation where if I bounced and he penned me, I would have been a one-shot for him. And yeah, it wouldn't have been a good time. But also, we're now a one-shot for a few of the tanks like the Stirrer Mill, which, yeah, not good for us. The Stirrer Mill had people coming up behind him, and yet he was still trying to shoot us. But he gets shut down by the Skoda T25. There's now only 3 tanks left on the enemy team. We want some more damage. We've got to be careful because the bathtub, the S35CA, could have 330 alpha if he's firing APCR on the 105, so he could one-shot us. We've got to be careful of that. In fact, there he is. We do have the alpha to one-shot that guy with 280 now, but he's... There we go. He drives out in front of our gun. Thank you very much. 5th kill of the game. And we do have to be careful of this KE85. And I go, oh no, he's got the 122. Yeah, if he had the 100mm, I thought, well, I'm safe, right? But he's actually got a 122mm gun, which means he fires for 390 alpha, and he could have killed us in one shot, which would have been awkward. But thankfully, because of the position we took, it was a very awkward shot for him, and he didn't take it. We finished the game with 6 kills, 6.6 thousand damage, 970 assistance, with the ace tanker, the top gun, the high caliber, and 2,859 base XP. What a game for the Tiger 1 hammer there. Just showing what it's all about. That DPM is insane. If you get top tier, it is absolutely phenomenal. But even if you get tier 8s and tier 9s, because the DPM is that good, you feel like you can just take away their hit points in the blink of an eye. But naturally, you are also a big hit point pinata, because you are very easy for the enemy team to penetrate at that point, and also your DPM doesn't count for quite as much, because even though you're hitting for 240, a lot of those will probably be hitting for 300 to 400, which is pain. But yeah, that's the Tiger 1 hammer. It's a very good tank these days. Used to be one of the worst Tiger variants again, but that was because it was just the Tiger 1, but generally worse. So now we're onto a tank that was considered generally overpowered for quite a long time. I don't really think it's at that point now, because, well, power creep, realistically. But it's still pretty damn nice, and it's one that we've all earned recently in an earn-up that was community earn-up for Tankfest, which means most people will want to know how this thing handles, and how does it stack up statistically? Well, statistically, the Tiger 131 has AP rounds as standard, with 169 penetration for 220 alpha, with 773 meters a second shell velocity, which is very slow shell velocity on this round. It is a bit of a pain at times, especially firing at distance in the Tiger 131. You've got 227 penetration on the premium APCR, though, which is pretty nice, with 220 alpha and 966 meters a second shell velocity, which again is getting to the average stage for shell velocities, but it's a lot nicer on the premium round than it is on the standard round, so you will feel that difference if you do switch to it. You've got HE rounds with 53 penetration for 270 alpha with 773 meters a second shell velocity again. You've got a 40 kph top speed with a 12 km/h reverse speed. Now, the 12 km/h reverse speed is a little bit slow on the Tiger 131, but you do have that 40 kph top speed, and the 40 kph is definitely very nice. With a 15.29 horsepower per ton ratio and the 870 horsepower engine, you do actually hit that top speed fairly quickly, alongside what the Tiger 1 does as well, which is quite nice. 380 meters view range again, which is pretty standard for all these Tigers. It means you do be able to spot for yourself as well with the 486 meters of view range that you can get with the build that I run. Oh, sorry, no, 497 meters of view range with the build that I run. And then you've got 5.5 second base reload, which is 2.4k DPM, which is glorious. 2.3 second aim time as well is pretty good actually compared to a lot of the other Tigers, which is really great for the tank. 0.3 accuracy base is a little bit derpier than the other 88s, with a 0.59 accuracy during rotation and a 1.79 accuracy during movement, which again means it does bloom out a little bit there, but with the 2.3 second aim time, it's not too bad. You have 8 degrees of gun depression as well, which is a lot better than some of the other Tigers. And then add to that, you've got preferential matchmaking on the Tiger 131, which is one of the reasons it was always viewed as a little bit overpowered, because you had absolutely phenomenal DPM on it, although the other Tigers now actually surpass it, because it used to have better DPM than the other Tigers, but the other Tigers, like the Tiger 1 Hammer and the standard Tiger 1, actually have better DPM than you in this vehicle now. But yeah, you used to have that phenomenal DPM, with a gun that was obviously worse penetration and accuracy and all that good stuff, but you had the phenomenal DPM and preferential matchmaking, which means that most of the time you are top tier in this vehicle. The worst you'll see is tier 8s like in this game, and even then you're still absolutely shredded. But like I say, power creep's a thing. Now the other Tigers generally have that better DPM than you, and it's still a pretty damn nice tank to play, though, with that preferential matchmaking. What do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, I run the Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Track Mechanic, and Rapid Aim. Fairly similar to the standard Tiger 1, because you do have, again, terrible turret traverse. Max, I've got it up to is 25 degrees a second. And then the Advanced Loader, the Vents, and the Optics. Vents and Optics to make sure that everything on this tank is fantastic with the Vents, to make sure I've got the best DPM and the best view range I can push out of it, as well as knocking the aim time and stuff like that down. The Optics to be able to spot for myself, I get the view range up to 497 meters of view range with that. And then the Advanced Loader to make my DPM get up to that 3.3k DPM, which, like I say, the Tiger 1 Hammer, sorry, the standard Tiger 1 has less DPM than you, but the Tiger 1 Hammer nowadays actually has better DPM than you, but obviously still sees tier 9, whereas this thing doesn't. But the gun generally performs better, I say, as I snap that shot on the move, naturally. But yeah, Tiger 131, it's a pretty damn solid tank. I mean, I say most people earned it for free. That's what I run on it, and that's the statistics. You can see there is a lot of different statistics on this tank compared to the other Tigers. The other Tigers are very similar. This one is a lot different, and having that pref matchmaking is definitely pretty glorious for it. Finished with the ace tank of the sniper, the high caliber, 2,033 base XP for the Tiger 131 there on Erlenberg. And yeah, it's a pretty damn nice tank for people to pick up. Now this is a rare variant. This is one that you do not see very often at all, and that is one that probably people don't even realise is in the game, and that is the T6100. This is the Soviet Tier 7 Tiger variant. So this tank is the Tiger 1, but with a 100mm gun, aka the 100, right? And it's one that you just don't see very often because people don't realise it's in the game. I think it's probably not as good as some of the other Tigers these days, but it can still pack a punch. It can still be pretty decent, and it's an interesting one to play. So let's have a look at the statistics of it. It does have AP as standard with 190 penetration, which is lower than some of the other Tigers. 250 alpha, which used to be higher than the other Tigers, but now isn't because, you know, the other Tigers have 280 now. 895 meters a second shell velocity. You've got APCR rounds with 247 pen, for 250 damage again, with 1,119 meters a second shell velocity. HE rounds with 50 pen for 330 damage, 895 meters a second shell velocity on that one. You can see the shell velocities are generally worse than the other Tigers that don't have pref. The penetration is actually worse on the standard rounds, better on the premium, however. But yeah, so your velocity is definitely worse. You've got to bear that in mind. You've got a 40 km/h top speed with a 12 km/h reverse speed, reminiscent of the Tiger, but you have 700 horsepower engine, which is 12.2 horsepower per ton, which means you do hit the 40 km/h top speed, but you're just a little bit more sluggish than the standard Tiger or the Tiger 131, which is why I help it out with my crew and equipment setups. You've got 380 meters of view range, which again helps you have that 486 meters of view range with the build that we've got, which is pretty decent. You got 6.88 second reload, which is 2.1k, nearly 2.2k base DPM, which again is pretty good, but it's better than the standard Tiger by a little bit, but worse than the Tiger 1 Hammer. You got 2.4 second aim time, which is better than the other Tigers, except for the Tiger 131, which again is a little bit nicer for how the gun handling in general feels on this vehicle. You've got a 0.36 base accuracy, which is worse than the other Tigers, but generally because of the accuracy during movement at 1.83 and the rotation at 0.57, it does bloom out a little bit, but having that 2.4 second base aim time just means that this gun does feel a little bit more consistent in how much the gun blooms out and how quickly you get your gun aimed in on the target. And then you've got 7 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle as well, which is fairly standard of the Tigers. But yeah, this is the T6100. This is a very interesting one in general because of the fact that you have that 100mm Soviet gun instead of the 88mm German gun, right? And you can push out the damage pretty nicely in it. Like I said, the gun for me always felt a little bit more consistent than the 88 at times, just because it felt like it aimed in way quicker, right? And you've got 2.9, nearly 3k DPM on this vehicle again, which with 2,990 DPM, you're pushing very, very similar to the standard Tiger one at 2,954, and it was just the case that this tank used to have, instead of 240 alpha, it had 250 alpha, but a slightly lower pen, but slightly higher premium rounds, right? But it's lost some of those sort of differences that made it stand out as being a little bit nicer in some ways than the standard Tigers because of, well, power creep and general stat buffs to those vehicles, whereas this one being a little bit left behind. So what do I run in terms of crew and equipment? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanics, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Off-Road Driving. The Advanced Loader, the Optics, and the Powertrain. Powertrain to get me some better engine power, get me a slightly better top speed at 42 kilometers an hour. Optics to be able to spot for myself, and the Advanced Loader to make the best out of my DPM on this tank, like you really want to do on most of the Tigers. Off-road driving to lower the ground resistances, because once again, the ground resistances on this tank are really not that great, so you really want to help that out if you can. The 3 gun perks to make the gun as good as humanly possible, so that this gun can sing with its DPM. But because the accuracy during rotation is actually pretty low, you could realistically drop Snapshot and run the Rapid Aim perk as well to make the touch reverse better, because the touch reverse on this vehicle is 26 degrees a second, which is again is fairly slow, just like all the other Tigers, but it's down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. So as you can see on this map here on Redshire, we've managed 3.9k DPM, 1105 assistance so far with 3 kills. And we're just in the perfect position to possibly get shots towards this Ragnarok. So I don't really want to give it up so far because we're in the perfect sniping position. If we were to get spotted, that Ragnarok could quite easily kill us. So there's just no point going towards him. I may as well wait for my light tank to possibly spot this guy up. And that way we'll get some free hits, hopefully, as long as he doesn't stay below the ridge lines. But as you can see with this T6100, as it's been played, same as it is with the standard Tiger 1, same as the Tiger 1 Hammer, same as the Tiger P, they all have very, very similar playstyles because they are all basically the same tank. And obviously that's the reason I thought that this sort of series would be interesting, is because you are seeing they're not just the same tank, they're not copy-pasta, right? They all have very different statistics that make them slightly different in different ways, but because they are the same base Tiger 1, essentially in terms of the hull and the mobility for the most part, they all do have that very similar second line support peekaboom kind of playstyle, where you want to keep the DPM rolling, but try not to be taking hits too much. But we finished the game with 3 kills, 4.1k damage, 1100 assistance, the ace tanker, the high caliber, for 2.1k base XP. A really nice game there for the T6100, a tank that you really don't see very often at all, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people probably haven't got a clue it's even in the game. But here's one that people will know is in the game, and that's because it was part of the Season Pass way back now at this point, and it is the Tiger 1 Skoda A18. It is the last tank of the video, and it is the Czech Tiger 1. It is the Czech Tiger 1, and it has definitely got a bit of a difference compared to the other vehicles. And that's because it's now got, instead of a 100mm gun, instead of because of an 88mm gun, it's now got a 75mm Skoda A18 gun, which is obviously lower caliber than the others, and is an auto-loader. So what's it got statistically on the Tiger Skoda A18? Well, it's got AP as standard with 178 pen, 110 damage, with 900 meters a second shell velocity, which again is lower than most of the other Tigers except for the 131. You've got APCR rounds of premium, which is 234 penetration for 110 damage, with 1090 meters a second shell velocity as well, which again is slower than some of the other Tigers, but it's not too bad actually. When you load the premium, you will really notice the difference between loading the premium and the standard round when firing at decent distances. You've got a 40 km/h top speed with a 12 km/h reverse speed. Again, very reminiscent of loads of the other Tigers. With a 700 horsepower engine for 12.42 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit that 40 km/h speed, but it does just need that little bit extra help to pump it up. You got 380 meters of view range, which again, standard for pretty much all the Tigers that you've seen. 5.2 second reload, with a 1.33 second intraclip reload on this vehicle, which has 3 shots in the auto-loader, which is rapid. This tank feels like you never stop firing. It just never stops. You're always in the fight. And as you can see in the game, we've got a 4-second reload. 4-second reload, and then you just start pumping the rounds out. It's one that you feel like you're never out of the fight. It's just non-stop firing. It's all actions, all systems go all the time in the Skoda A18, or the Tiger Skoda A18 anyway. You've got a 2-second reload, which means this gun aims in very fast. And to add to that on the gun, you actually have a 0.36 accuracy base, which again is not the best. You're getting onto the derpier end of accuracies, and it's much like the T6100 and stuff like that. But you got 0.41 accuracy during rotation and 1.6 accuracy during movement, which is actually pretty good, and it means that the gun doesn't bloom out all too much, and with a 2-second aim time, which obviously with your crew skills and stuff like that knocks it down to 1.81 second aim time, it means you're always ready to go with this gun, and because your reload is that quick and your intro is that good, you're just always going with this vehicle, which is an absolute asset for it. And then you've got 7 degrees of gun depression on the tank, which again is pretty damn standard for a lot of the Tigers. So then, what do I run in terms of a crew on the the Tiger 1 Skoda A18? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Track Mechanic, and Deadeye. Deadeye for the memes. Plain and simple. For the memes, look how many rounds I'm putting down range in a very, very short space of time. I want to increase the chance of doing module damage for the memes, because then I've got more chance of my rounds hitting the targets, doing engine damage, setting people on fire, damaging ammo racks, that sort of stuff. I want to increase that for the memes. You don't have to run that. You're probably better running something like rapid aim instead of that, but that's just how I like to run it. And then in terms of equipment, I run the optics, vents, and the powertrain. Powertrain to get me up to 13.04 horsepower per ton ratio, so I can hit the top speed a little bit easier and go at 42 kilometers an hour. Vents to be able to make everything about the tank better, like the aim time, the accuracy, the DPM, add to that DPM, and then the optics to be able to spot for myself and get myself up to that 497 meters of view range that I have in the Tiger 1 A18, so that again I can get good assistance games on maps like Prokhorovka, like you're seeing in front of you, and that way we can not be useless on a map like this because I'm not getting out spotted all the time, and I can help my team by extending the view range. But again, it's down to you and how you feel comfortable in playing a tank. There's multiple different ways to set up the vehicle. Again, the accuracy during rotation is really good, so you could definitely probably quite easily drop the snapshot and run something completely different instead, like rapid aim to make the switch reverse better, or clutch braking to make the track traverse better, or off-road driving to help the ground resistances as well, because the ground resistances aren't the best on this vehicle, and again it helps it hit that top speed after you've buffed up the power to weight as well. It's down to you and how you want to run the tank. It's how you feel comfortable with it, right? So, this game here on Prokhorovka, so far, we're up to 3,001 damage with 2.3k assistance. The artillery has been non-stop in this game. It's still going for us, even though we've not been spotted for quite a while. He's blind firing where my shell tracers are. And I only have 380 meters of view range, which means I don't really want to get spotted at this point, because if I get spotted, I'm probably going to die. After I've fired the shells, I really have to start moving, because the artillery is definitely still trying to get us. We end up seeing the shell tracer of the artillery, though, and I'm thinking, oh, he's down there, but I don't want to poke after him yet, because it's likely that it could be death, because this KV-3 is definitely looking for us. Sadly, we low-roll 3 of the rounds there, which means we don't quite kill the KV-3 in one clip, but as you can see, this gun doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop firing, and even though we didn't get to quite kill the KV-3 in that first clip, we're just ready to go instantly, and we managed to finish him off there, and we're just trying to get the shot now to the Hellcat 105. We get instantly detected by the artillery, naturally. Again, we see the shell tracers. The other one fires at us. We see his shell tracer as well. I kind of know where they both are now. But, again, I don't want to start going for those guys yet because, well, there's another tank spotted in the SMB CC56. Once we get rid of that TD, we know there's nothing else that can shoot us except for artillery. And you can see, even though I'm not spotted, I'm keeping moving as much as possible because there is every possibility that those guys might try and blind fire me. We tried to blind fire the SMV there, but he ends up moving. So you can see I'm just keeping moving, but at the same time, trying to blind fire that SMV. But it doesn't work. Now, I'm going after artillery. It's like, piggies! You've been shooting at me all game, bruv. I'm coming for your life. But the SMV gets spotted. Why not? Shut him down. And you can really feel the shell velocity difference between the APCR and the AP. It really feels a hell of a lot better. The Burt gets spotted, the FV304. It's like, hello, Mr. Burt. Good night, Mr. Burt. Although, that was terrible. We ended up, I think we loaded HE, which is why the shell velocity felt a bit worse, and it actually caught me out there. But we ended up killing the Burt anyway. Now going after the Lorraine, who again has been going after us all game. It's like, hello, Mr. Lorraine. We get 3 out of 3 on this guy. I'm thinking, yes, maybe I can get the kill. And sadly, the SU-100M1 ends up shutting down the Lorraine. But we do finish the game with an absolutely fantastic total for the Tiger 1 Skoda A18 on Prokhorovka. Finished with 6 kills, 5,017 damage, 2.6k assistance, that's 7.6k combined. A million credits, but that's because there was the silver boost on at that point. Ace Tanker, Top Gun High Caliber, with 2.7k base XP. What a fantastic game for the Skoda A18, the Tiger 1. It's a fantastic tank to play. It's a lot different compared to the other Tigers. It's a damn solid vehicle. But yeah, that's all the Tiger 1 variants at tier 7. They can be pretty damn fun tanks. There was all the minor differences between all the vehicles. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll catch you next time.
A great success!